Day 65, we are going to now review for the rock and mineral test. And this is going to be a longer video, and so I'm going to cut it into 2 or 3 parts. When I give you the answer to one of these problems, I'm also going to have you write notes off to the side so that you can understand the material better. Please make sure that you are copying everything off to the side as I write it on the screen. Number 1, a mineral is naturally occurring. What that means is that it is found in nature. Please write found in nature off to the side. Number 2, a mineral is solid at room temperature and pressure. So what that means is that we do not include things like water, which are liquid at room temperature, and we don't include lava because that's not room temperature. Number 3, a mineral has a crystal pattern. And remember, a crystal pattern, that is a pattern of repeating atoms. Number 4, a mineral is an inorganic substance. Remember that organic, that means from living things, like a shell or a bone. And minerals are inorganic, so they are not from living things. The IN means not. Number 5, does each mineral have its own chemical formula? And the answer is yes. Perhaps I shouldn't say its own. Perhaps I should just say a chemical formula. And a chemical formula, that is a recipe of sorts. It's a recipe of atoms. So to make a mineral, you need so many atoms of this and so many atoms of that, and put them together. For instance, limestone is going to have calcium and carbon and oxygen in a very certain proportion. For every calcium, you're going to have a couple carbons and a few more oxygen atoms, but in the same proportions. Number 6, what is the hardness of a mineral? And the hardness is the ability to be scratched. We have a limited number of things that we test our minerals by in our classroom. A fingernail has a hardness of 2.5. So if a mineral can be scratched by a fingernail, that means that it is softer or less than 2.5. A penny is 3.5. So if a mineral can be scratched by a penny but not by a fingernail, that means that the hardness of the mineral is somewhere in between these two numbers. Glass had a hardness of 5.5, and a steel nail had a hardness of 6.5. So if a mineral could be scratched by a nail, that means that it is something less than 6.5. If it cannot be scratched by glass, but it can be scratched by a nail, then the hardness of the mineral is somewhere in between. Number 7, what is the streak of a material? The streak is the color of the mineral in powdered form. And let's see here. I want you to write off to the side, not all minerals have a streak. Number 8. What is cleavage? Cleavage is the breakage pattern when you see flat surfaces and straight edges. This is when it looks like a cut stone in a jewelry store. Then it has a cleavage pattern. There are different shapes of cleavage. We're not really concerned about naming all of them, but there are some that look like cubes and some that look like hexagons, and some are more pointy than others. Number 9. What is fracture? Fracture is, letter C, the breakage pattern when you see jagged edges and rough surfaces. Off to the side, I want you to write like gravel. Number 10. What is luster? Luster is how a large sample of the mineral reflects light. There are 2 kinds of luster that we're concerned about. One is non-metallic and the other is metallic. So metallic, that is when it has shiny silver or gold. It could be the whole sample looks like shiny silver, or it could be that there are tiny little speckles of shiny silver and gold in the rock. Either way. For non-metallic, it could look like glass, it could look like wax, it could be dull, and there are other words as well that could describe different kinds of non-metallic lusters. We're not going to be concerned about these specific types. We're just going to break them down into either metallic or non-metallic. But note that on your test, if a stone or mineral is defined as looking like wax or looking like glass, then it is a non-metallic luster. Number 11. What is the equation for density? And I want you to write off to the side here that we have written it like this: mass over volume. And so that means option D is the right answer. Mass divided by volume. Number 12. Density is a measure of, so this division here gets us a number, and the bigger the number, that tells us that the material is more closely packed together. So I want you to write down off to the side here that density is not heaviness. A lot of people think that just because an object is heavy, that means that it's very dense, and that's not true. You could have a very large chunk of styrofoam, and that would be pretty heavy, but it's not very dense at all. Number 13. The shape of a mineral is due to the arrangement of an atom's that is going to be crystal structure. I want you to write off to the side here that the crystal structure is the repeating pattern of atoms. A repeating pattern of atoms. And that pattern will give it a distinctive crystal structure, whether it's cubes or rectangles or pyramids, that kind of thing. Number 14. Why can't we just use one test to identify a mineral? Well, that's because some minerals have the same hardness, or they both have the same streak, or some other kind of thing. They might have 2 or 3 different qualities that have the same measure. So you have to keep on looking for different kind of qualities until you can tell the difference between the two. Number 15. A person breaks a mineral with a hammer. What is the person most likely trying to find? They're trying to find the breakage pattern. They're trying to see if the pieces have smooth sides. If they hit it with a hammer and the little pieces all have smooth sides, then it has cleavage. If the pieces are all rough and ragged like gravel, then the breakage pattern is fracture. Number 16. A person rubs a mineral on a white tile. What is the person most likely trying to find? They're trying to find the streak. By rubbing on the tile, they see the color of the powder. There's nothing really magical about rubbing on a tile. You could just scratch off a whole bunch of powder using a nail or something like that and look at the color of the powder on a piece of clear glass. That would get you the same answer. It's just that rubbing on a white tile is a really easy, convenient way of doing things, and it's very, very cheap. Number 17. A person tries to scratch a mineral with a penny. What is the person most likely trying to find? They're trying to find the hardness. If a penny scratches it, then the mineral is softer than the penny. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here and start a new one. Please go to the next video.